Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Oh, You podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Oh, You podcast. Today, very lucky, privileged to have with us Ari Ziegler, who's the registration manager for our own Birthright Israel Free Spirit program, which you're going to tell us a little bit about what that means. I get those questions all the time. You guys are Birthright. What does it mean? And all that stuff. We're going to get into that. But first, we like to begin with our hardest question. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
A little bit about myself. My name is Ari Ziegler, as you said. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. I'm a father, a husband, a son, a brother. I'm the oldest of 6. I have 3 wonderful children, 5, 3, and 1. So when I'm not working at the OU, I'm
Busy house.
Working at home. Grew up in Brooklyn all my life, very much in the bubble.
But not in Brooklyn now.
Not in Brooklyn now. Now I'm in Great Neck. I married into the Persian community. So when you have Persian in-laws, there's a rule about how many mile radius you can leave. You can go too far. So, within 2 miles, and we actually found something, according to my step counter, is about 250 steps away from my in-laws. So they're very happy. So now in Great Neck.
How's that?
It's good. It's good. I've had to learn a little bit of Farsi. That's a fun one. All the idioms I've got.
But we want to take you back to Brooklyn because, just knowing you, getting to work with you the last couple of years, I was surprised when I learned where you went to school, elementary school, high school, growing up. Tell us.
Yeah, so I grew up, I went to kind of more black hat yeshivas, Yeshiva Torah Semis Kamenetz, YATK.
That's...
Yeah, I was there till 5th grade. It was in Bar Park, which was actually a couple blocks from where my father's dental office was. And then it moved to Avenue N and East 19th in Flatbush, which was also right near where we lived, so it worked out really nice. After that, my parents had me apply to about 9 different high schools just because I was the first, and they were like, we don't know anything, so we're going to have them apply to all of them. And I got into all but 1, which was nice. One of the schools asked me a question, and they cited this as the reason that they decided to pass. They said, you keep in touch with 2 of your friends from 8th grade. There are 2 friends. One you keep in touch with through high school, college, into life, whatever. The other one you don't. 20 years from now, they run into each other in an airport. And the one you didn't keep in touch with says to the one you do keep in touch with, whatever happened to that guy, Ari Ziegler? And I thought for a little bit, this is 8th grade me, thought for a little bit, and I said, you should say he won the lottery. that was the whole answer. They were waiting for more. But I ended, he said, you should say he won the lottery. My father afterwards was like, you should have said, and he donated so much to my alma mater, and he's my morning chavrusa. You could have added that. But that was all they said. And they said, we never heard that answer to that question, but
that's a great question. I should ask that one here.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
But you ended up at YFR.
YFR, yeah.
Shiva for Rockaway.
That's true. And there are 4 brothers and then 2 sisters at the end. And my other 3 brothers applied to 1 high school. And they all followed me to Yeshiva for Rockaway.
So Yeshiva for Rockaway was good to you and your family.
Very much so.
You graduate YFR and you go straight to
Brooklyn College. My parents kind of sat me down. They said, listen, what you want to do, we'll do. And wherever I was at that time in life, I was like, you know what, let's get life started. I want to get out there. Like I said, Brooklyn bubble, going to yeshivas my whole life. And in high school itself, coming from Brooklyn to Rockaway, I didn't dorm there. There were some kids who did dorm there. And so you were on the van, 7 o'clock in the morning, you got on the van, and 9th and 10th grade, maybe you got back at 8 p.m. Again, the van, 45 minutes to an hour ride back. In 11th and 12th grade, it was already like leaving 7 in the morning, getting back, if you stayed from Mishmar, you was getting back 11. It was like living there. And I said, I want to go out. I want to, experience something different. And so we went to Brooklyn College. It was something that I wanted to do at the time. And I really, if you think about it, I wouldn't have been eligible to go on Birthright if I had chosen to do a gap year or go to Israel for any.
So a lot of your chevra, they ended up going to Israel, to Eretz Israel for the year.
I'd say about half of the class went to gap years in Israel, different yeshivas. Another third of the class stayed in Yeshiva Rockaway. They have a really good Beit Midrash program. And then the remaining 1/6 or whatever it is spread out, all different programs.
So you're in BC.
Yeah.
You're studying?
So originally I wanted to be pre-dental. My dad, as I said, is a dentist, and I was like, oh, I'll have my foot in the door. But
Like all of us, we were pre-med for a year.
Yeah, so I was actually pre-dent till after 2 years. So I finished the second semester of organic chemistry. The first semester didn't tell me it wasn't good for me. The second semester after that, I just decided it wasn't something that I wanted to do. You know, people can't really talk back when you have your hands in your mouth, and I like to have that conversation. And so I switched to psychology and also creative writing, which I've always been into, like creative fields, writing, visual arts, things like that. So I said I'm going to choose creative writing as well.
And it was that during that time that you met some very interesting employees of the Orthodox Union.
That's true. It was actually it was closer to my graduate studies when I started really getting involved in JLIC in a real substantial way. Toward the end of my undergraduate studies, I started dabbling, going to that Hillel building. For the most part, I tried to keep my head down, going to college. Brooklyn College isn't the kind of school where, you know, it's like there's a lot of campus life, quote unquote, there is. But if you wanted to, you could treat it like your commute and then you come back. I also worked with my grandfather as a locksmith in college as well. So that took up a lot of my time when I wasn't in school. But yeah, also creative writing, you get to meet a lot of interesting people in creative writing classes. Not a lot of Jews in creative writing classes.
No.
But a lot of interesting people.
Yeah.
Some of whom I still talk to today even. But
That's
yeah,
great. And you meet the Boshnaks.
I meet the Boshnaks.
And
sure, and I start going to more events. Shira, if you've ever met Shira and Rabbi Reuven Boshnak, I know that Shira is still involved with JLIC in an alumni capacity.
Right.
But they're very personal people. They're very easy to talk to. I had all kinds of conversations with Rabbi Boshnak when it came to Judaism, when it came to faith, when it came to especially tefillah, which I'd always had challenges with. And they really helped sort of maintain that connection, especially in graduate school. I had a professor who once said, you know, as a graduate student, as a researcher, I was doing experimental psychology. You leave your faith at the door of the lab, and you pick it up on your way out. Like you have to. That's how you live. And I had already been sort of leaving my faith at the door of the school, not even at the door of the lab. And so the Boshnaks really did reconnect me a lot with my Judaism, really helped me feel the importance of it and why I wanted it back in my life and things like that. So,
and they suggested you go on a Birthright trip, or you found that on your own?
They actually, the first time I applied for Birthright was actually before I was really in touch with the Boshnaks, and probably my answers about my Jewish identity
also about the lottery.
No, but weren't probably knowing it from the back end now. Probably set off some red flags in terms of acceptance to the program. And actually, the first time I did, I was waitlisted. The first time I applied for Birthright, before I had gotten involved with JLIC, just as, you know, someone came to me on campus, said do it. And then after that, once I had started learning with the Boshnaks, going to programming with JLIC, I applied for Birthright again. And it was with a trip that Shira actually was staffing. And I traveled with them, and that was in December of 2012. It was over December 2012 to January 2013 was that trip.
And with that Israel Free Spirit also?
That was Israel Free Spirit. It was a partnership between Israel Free Spirit and JLIC on Brooklyn College.
And then when you came back to campus, there was an event that was scheduled that you decided to go with a couple of friends.
Yeah, so I was confronted with that right away. That was February 7th, 2013. I almost didn't go, but my brother had called me and said, hey, we're going. I want you to come with me. I went with him. This was an event organized by Students for Justice Palestine. One of the reasons that I had signed up was that the president of the college at the time, Karen Gould, was facing pressure to disinvite him. There were a lot of Jews who were protesting, Jewish students on the campus who were saying, you know, a lot of what Omar Barghouti says is hate speech. We don't want that. Mm-hmm. And what ended up happening is she said, if you disagree, come and ask the tough questions. We went to this event, and we had question sheets with the questions that we wanted to ask Omar Barghouti, questions that, of course, he's heard these questions before, but questions that would make it clear to those few people in the audience who hadn't yet made up their mind that he was skirting the answer, that he wasn't exactly giving us an answer, and to make them sort of think. And that's how we sort of designed these questions. And
do you remember any of the questions?
One of the questions was, and we knew Omar Barghouti as the founder of BDS, and as he's not a proponent of the two-state solution. He doesn't believe in that. And we asked him, you know, President Obama and the U.S. government believe that the best path forward is a two-state solution. What is the solution according to BDS? When does BDS have to stop? Is it when there's a two-state? Is it when there's a one-state? Like, what's your view? And his answer would put him at odds with prevailing wisdom in the U.S. at the time, or at least the official line from the White House.
But he didn't like your line of questioning.
So we didn't even get to ask the questions. we had the papers in our laps, and a member of the Students for Justice in Palestine who had organized the event came to us and said, "Hey, you can't have these papers here." And they had known Melanie as the president of the Israel Club, the undergraduate Israel Club. So they knew, and me and my brother were the only two with kippot in the room. And so they came over and they said, "Where you can't have these papers." And we said, "No, everybody's got papers. There's journalists, student journalists are here. They've got papers, you know." And they said, "Well, if you don't give us the papers, we're going to have you removed." So they had CUNY security come in and, you know, lift us up under the arm, remove us. They actually removed the fourth student who just happened to sit in the wrong seat next to us. And she actually was more upset than we were. And she started yelling out, "This is a violation of my First Amendment rights. I came here to speak. I came here to hear this." And we were removed. And on the way out, Melanie had asked Milga Morales, who was the vice president of Brooklyn College at the time, "Why are we being removed?" And she said, "It's their event. They call the shots." And we were escorted down 6 flights of stairs in the student center. Melanie had the presence of mind. She was interning at a PR firm at the time. And she said, "Let's do a press release. There's press here waiting for Mar Barghouti to come down." Since we went to the Hillel building, JLIC was in the Hillel building then. We went there and we quickly wrote up our account of what happened, brought it back to the press, gave it to the people waiting to interview Mar Barghouti. And so the headlines the next day, instead of being BDS event held at Brooklyn College, were 4 Jewish students expelled from BDS event at Brooklyn College. And so there were a lot of things that happened after that, a lot of sort of snowballed. From that, the college was obviously being asked for answers. We were writing op-eds. It's my first published New York Post op-ed, if you Google it, about the event. And it ended up leading to, let's just call it, a little bit of tension between us as students and the college that we attended. They at first denied that it was unjust. They said they were being vocally disruptive from the beginning of the first speaker. It wasn't until a leaked recording that was taken 2 rows in front of us. A friend of mine who had removed his kippah to be in the room, he said, "I'm taking it off. You know, I know these guys." And he had recorded it on his iPhone or the voice memo recording tool. And he was 2 rows in front of us. And the first time you hear a peep outside of the speaker is when you hear this fourth student, who unfortunately got roped in, started screaming. All of a sudden, Brooklyn College had to open an investigation. And that's...
And so that evening, that experience helped to shift your career to where you are now and where you've been for 10 years.
It's true.
At the Birthright, Israel Free Spirit, at the OU. What does it mean that Birthright and Israel Free Spirit and the OU, that we're all working together? Tell us what.
So
how are we connected?
It's complicated. A lot of times when we would go to like icebreakers.
We're hoping you uncomplicate it.
Yes, I will uncomplicate it. It will not be complicated when I'm done with this bit. But whenever we're asked at like an event, an icebreaker, "Oh, what do you do?" We'd always be like, "Oh, well, we help organize Birthright Trips with Israel Free Spirit," which is a partnership between the OU and Birthright. You know, we'd start like that. But Birthright Israel is an umbrella organization. They do a lot of the fundraising. They set educational standards that have to be met, and they accredit trip organizers or other organizations to actually run or do the hands-on work of the Birthright Trips. And one of those organizations that they accredit is the OU, or Israel Free Spirit, our department with the OU. There are currently 8 organizations that are accredited. When I started, there were like 12. And Israel Free Spirit is one of them.
And Israel Free Spirit, you're the registration manager,
yes.
But you also do recruitment. You also lead trips yourself.
Yeah, so over the 10 years, I mean, I've touched basically every part of the American side and even part of the Israeli side of Israel Free Spirit's operations. I've recruited on campus. I've helped lead trips, as you said. How many
participants does Israel Free Spirit bring to Israel every year?
Pre-COVID, we were sending about 60 buses of 40 people apiece, so something like 2,400 participants a year, maybe a little bit more. Pre-COVID, obviously, COVID, everything stopped for about a year. We were the first organizer to have a trip after COVID. Once we got the green light, we were all ready, and we got a trip going in 2 weeks, which was definitely an accomplishment that we were happy about. But currently, I mean, we had, before obviously the events of October 7th, we had 400 spots for this winter, all full, ready to go. We are having a trip that leaves on January 7th. We have another on January 8th. We have an additional 2 trips this winter after that. I'll be leading the January 7th one. So I'll be traveling and being the group leader for that one.
Great.
It'll be my 11th Birthright Trips.
Wow. Altogether, you've taken how many people to Israel for their first time?
So for the participants, I'd say about 500 participants total. For me personally, in terms of the trips that I've helped organize and the logistical side of things, thousands upon thousands.
It's great. How do you like being at the OU?
I mean, if I say no, then you'd be like, what are you doing here 10 years, right? I mean, I've been here 10 years, so that should be the answer. I think it's a big privilege to be a part of, well, first of all, Birthright itself, the fact that the OU has a chelek in Birthright is huge. Birthright, I'd say, is one of the largest communal Jewish projects since the state of Israel. Maybe, I don't know. It's affected so many young Jews over the past 20 years. And I think it's really important that the OU has a seat at that table. And the OU can say that they've had a hand in that. A lot of the Jewish world, in America especially, a lot of American Jewry, outside of Orthodoxy, a lot of them are like I was. They were treating their Jewish identity like a book that they reference from time to time, something on their shelf that they keep, and not something here, not something here. I think the future generations will ask, what were you doing? And the fact that I can say I was a part of an organization that was helping to strengthen Jewish identity, to enable Jewish life in the way that it does, I mean, that's one of the best answers I could give.
You hold a lot here and here.
I try.
As you reference. Torah, Emunah, your family, right? Both the family in Great Neck and the family from Brooklyn and probably beyond at this point. Your work. You also referenced just a couple minutes ago, you have some fascinating hobbies as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, I majored in creative writing in addition to psychology. I always saw them as two sides of the same coin. Psychology is, it studies how people behave, human nature from the side of science, statistics, experiments, and creative writing and sort of storytelling explores that from the side of art, from the side of anecdotal evidence, if you want to put it that way.
And you do that in a couple of different forms.
Yeah. I mean, I focus mostly on long form. I try to write long stories, novels, novel-length pieces. I participate in this thing called NaNoWriMo, which is National Novel Writing Month. Every November, thousands of writers across the world try to write 50,000 words in the month of November. So you have to write basically 1,600 words a day, 1,667, something like that a day, for it to be 50,000 words by the end of November. And I finished that a number of times over the past 11, 12 years that I've been participating in it. Since I've had kids, I've finished it only once. So that's once in 5 years. But this year I actually was able to add 15,000 words to a project that I'm in the middle of. So that was a pretty successful one.
But you also write sonnets.
That's true.
You've written 1,000 sonnets?
I haven't yet written 1,000, but the goal is to write 1,000.
You're an artist on top of that, right? You
so
draw.
If you ask my Rabbi, Yeshivas, they'd say that I have at least 4 years experience during that time of art practice in class. So I would do that. And actually during COVID, we were preparing trips as if they were going to go 2 weeks to flatten the curve, right? And so we found ourselves kind of organizing trips and then sitting with our fingers on the trigger. And I had also gained a commute back. I had gained 2 hours a day because we weren't going in. And I had always told my wife, I always said this, if I ever end up in prison, I'm going to come out, I'm going to be jacked. I'm going to come out, I'm going to have the time, I'm going to work out, I'm going to come out there. And I also always said, when I retire, I'll be an artist, I'll paint, I'll do all these things. And all of a sudden I found myself with a little bit of extra time, that little commute, that 2 hours.
And so you got jacked.
And so, yeah, clearly that part is not the truth. The painting, I was able to throw myself into it and work on a lot of larger projects than I thought I might be able to. And now it's a pretty consistent side hustle at this point.
Well, I'm looking forward to my Ziegler going up in my office.
You charge it to the OU. I don't know if you can afford me.
Okay. We'll see. Somebody buy me a gift, maybe. This is next segment. This is a segment we call Rapid Fire Questions.
Okay.
You ready?
All right. How long are the answers allowed to be? Because as you've seen, I've been...
These are quick.
All right.
Under 10 seconds.
Okay.
You ready? How many people were inducted into the OU Chaf Hey Society at the OU Hanukkah lunch this year?
I'm going to say 5.
I didn't even have a chance to give you the options, but yes, you nailed it. Ding,
Yeah.
ding, ding. That's correct.
All right.
Okay. I'm going to give you different options for this, unless you want to try. How much can the Eiffel Tower grow in the summer? Do you want me to give you options?
Give me the options.
6 inches, 8 inches, 10 inches, a foot.
I'm going to say a foot.
Thanks for playing.
What was it, 6 inches?
6 inches, yeah.
Shame.
What was the original name of Bank of America? Bank of Spain, Bank of France, Bank of Italy, Bank of Canada.
I'm going to say Bank of Canada.
No, sorry. I know I sort of, it actually was the Bank of Italy.
The Bank of Italy.
And here's
didn't
one.
Stick to its roots.
What % of their DNA do humans share with bananas?
Oh, it's a high percent. Give me the options.
10, 33%, 50%, 75%.
I'm going to say 33%.
It's actually 50%.
50%. I'm half banana. Whoa. All right. Or bananas are half me.
You know what?
I don't
We're
know.
not making any
We'll have to figure it
comments
out.
lest HR come down on us. Do you have any questions for me? Turn the table.
Would you rather
Oh boy.
have fingers the lengths of your legs or legs the lengths of your fingers?
Now,
Is
since
that the strangest one that someone's asked on the podcast? Has there been a better one?
did you make
nothing stranger than that?
Did you make up this? Would you rather, or have you
Someone
seen
had
this?
asked me a while ago, and every now and then it resurfaces in my mind.
Yeah.
It's like the tail of a whale. It breaches every now and then.
Got it.
That's how it goes. So, and now you're privy to it. So,
I'll be honest. Since I love running, I'm not sure that legs the length of my fingers would be, unless they were really like stubby legs. I'm not sure that I'd be able to run.
well, you'd have fingers the length of your legs. You'd be dragging them. That might be difficult too.
Yeah, but maybe I'd go faster because I'd, be able to have all
You'd
these
be able
extra
to, like,
legs.
row.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think I'd have to go with that one.
Nice.
Is that
Sure.
is that fair?
Yeah. What do you think, since the destruction of the Second Temple, what do you think are the top 3 most pivotal moments in terms of the Jewish story?
I wish I had studied for this exam. I'm not sure. Top 3 pivotal moments. I would say one of them would have to be the establishment of the State of Israel.
That was the gimme.
That was the gimme?
Yeah.
Another one I would think would be, you said after the destruction of the
After
second.
the destruction of the Second Temple.
So
Basically, since the start of what you might call
It
the
might
Galut.
be the establishment of the yeshiva in Yavna, which totally pivoted how Judaism could survive over millennia of not being in its own land. So those would be my bookends. I got one right at the beginning and one closer to present time. And possibly in the middle, it may have been Rashi writing the interpretation on Chumash and on Talmud. Maybe the Rambam codifying halacha. Maybe the Arizal, and the reification of the Zohar. It's hard for me to choose amongst those 3, whether we're looking at a sort of Torah Sheba'al Peh, halacha, Kabbalah. I don't know. It'd be hard for me to choose one of those 3 things.
Nice.
But I'm going to turn it back to you. What do you think are the 3?
So I've been asking a lot of people this question, mostly because one of the novels I'm working on is called The Immortal Jew. And it follows the main character as a tour guide working in Israel right now in modern times. So something that I have a lot of familiarity with, a lot of people I work with. He actually has a business card that says El Haaretz Asher Areka on it, which is really nice. I met a tour guide who had that. He's great. And the reason I asked is I've been asking a lot of people this is because what we learn about this tour guide is that he was actually born right before the Bar Kokhba revolt. And after the Bar Kokhba revolt, his family is killed. His father was a follower of Bar Kokhba, the rising star, right? All these things. And his family is killed and he's sent to exile. And on the way out, he lays down on the floor, has a dream, whatever you want to call it, little Yaakov kind of thing. And he has an argument with Hashem. And he says, I don't believe these promises, this destiny, whatever it is. And Hashem says, you'll see. You'll see. And he realizes, wait a second, he's living through all this stuff. He gets injured, he's healed, and he's made immortal. And he serves as an analog for the Jewish people. That's what I'm hoping for, who we've survived all these things. And so this character is going to survive through Jewish history. That's the idea.
Wow.
And his faith sort of ebbs and flows. And this is the one that I've added to this November. So it's getting somewhere, slowly. And I'm trying to make sure he hits on some important eras.
Did I get any of them?
So I mean, you overlapped
Okay.
with a lot. One interesting one I thought was the printing press, which was for across the
right.
board.
That could have
that not just for Jewish life, but for just life
Sure.
in general.
That could have encompassed all three of my middle ones. Yeah.
Yeah, there's that there. I have someone, there's someone tied the establishment of the State of Israel with the Shoah as a pivotal moment in the Jewish story. The codifying of the Talmud is a big one. I think the compiling of the Talmud is a big one. I think the printing press, making all that the distribution of knowledge possible, is a big one. Obviously, the establishment of the State of Israel is a big one. And I think even today, I think we're living through a really important period in Jewish history. I think that there's no more important period than today, because today we can act, we can do.
And that's why we need you out there recruiting and registering and getting more people to go and support and visit and learn about Israel, modern day, historical.
Yeah.
So we appreciate you weaving everything back together from your early days, JLIC, into advocacy, I guess, into Birthright, and all the different pieces in between.
Yeah.
We appreciate everything in your journey through the OU. And if I asked you, what bracha would you give the OU right now? What would be the blessing you would give us all here?
The biggest bracha that I can give is that the OU should never stop growing in its mission, and that it should achieve mission after mission sooner rather than later, and do what you can to sort of optimize that journey and really have the biggest impact that you can.
We thank you. Thank you for that, Amen. And thank you for sharing your fascinating stories, and for everything you do for us here at the OU, for Birthright, for Israel Free Spirit.
Hopefully 10 more years. Maybe I'll be in the Chafei Society.
We'll look forward to that. And now when people pass you by in the hallways or wherever you are around the world, they'll say, oh, you. Thank you.
That was a good
you like
tie
that?
in. I like that. So all my pieces explore Jewish themes. It's Jewish art. I explore, and it's a very sort of modern style that I didn't see a lot of other Jewish artists creating art in. And I said, be the change you want to see in the world. If you want to see this kind of art and you want to see it explore Jewish themes, then do it. So I got to start doing that.
Amazing.